Alright, we're going to talk about trigonometry today. And there's three things you need to know when it comes to trig functions right now. And that is sine, cosine, and tangent. And when these are sine equals the opposite over the hypotenuse. I'm just going to abbreviate here. Cosine would be the adjacent over the hypotenuse. And the tangent would be the opposite over the adjacent. Just abbreviate there again. So sometimes you'll see this. SOHCAHTOA. When I was learning this, and my math teacher came up with a little acronym of some old hens can act hateful towards other animals. So I still remember that to this day. So if that helps you, you can remember that. Some old hens can act hateful towards other animals. Some people just remember SOHCAHTOA. Doesn't matter how you remember it, you just need to remember sine equals opposite over hypotenuse, cosine equals adjacent over hypotenuse, and tangent equals opposite over adjacent. Another thing you need to know is when you're doing these on the calculator, a lot of times you'll be in radians, and you need to change that to degrees in your settings, and I'll go over how to do that at a later time. But if you're getting numbers that don't make sense, like if you get a side length that's negative 1.3725 or something, it's going to be irrational, but you get the idea. If you're getting a side length that's negative, you can't have a side length that's negative. Chances are you're in radians, and you need to go into your settings and change your radians to degrees so you're getting good answers. Alright, so let's look at what these would look like if you start writing these ratios. So if I did the sine of A, that equal opposite, which is 4, over a hypotenuse, which is 5. If I did the cosine of A, it's adjacent over hypotenuse, so that would be 3 over 5. And if I did the tangent, that equals opposite over adjacent, so that would be 4 over 3. So that's how you write your ratios for the trigonometry functions. Alright, so let's put into practice some of these things we're learning about our trig functions. So that first one, I got the angle of 54, the opposite is W, and the hypotenuse is 17. So I got opposite and hypotenuse, so I'm going to use the sine function. So I got the sine of 54 degrees equals W over 17. So to solve this, I need to multiply both sides by 17. So I get 17 sine of 54 equals W. So you type that into the calculator just how it appears. So 17 sine 54. And when you do that, you'll have to round your answer. Just to the nearest tenth is fine. So that's going to work out to about 13 8/10. The next one in red there, I got my angle of 28 degrees. And then I have opposite and adjacent. So that means I need to do tangent. So the tangent of 28 equals the opposite, which is 1 over W. So if I multiply by W, I'm going to get W tangent of 28 equals 1. And then I'm going to divide by the tangent of 28. So I get W equals 1 divided by the tangent of 28. So you just type that in. 1 divided by tangent of 28. And you get W is about, again, we'll just round to the nearest tenth, 1 9/10. So look at what you have. Do you have opposite and hypotenuse, adjacent and hypotenuse, or opposite and adjacent? And that will tell you which trig function to use. Alright, so now we've got two right triangles here. And I'm giving you some side lengths, but I'm not giving you the angle measure. We need to find the angle measure. So start with A there. If you look at A, I got the opposite of A and I got the hypotenuse. So that's going to be the sine of A equals 8 over 12. Well, in order to solve this, I need to do the inverse of sine function. So if you look at your calculators, above the sine, you'll see this key. It's called the sine to the negative 1. So you have to hit shift or second, depending on whatever calculator you have. So you're going to do the sine to the negative 1, and then your ratio, 8/12. So when I work that out, I'm going to get about, we'll just round to the nearest whole degree, so about 42 degrees. So the second one there, oh, I didn't put what letter I'm finding. Let's find B here. So if I'm looking at that, in relation to B, I have the adjacent, which is 10, and the hypotenuse, which is 17. So I'm going to use cosine to solve this one. So the cosine of B equals 10 over 17. So to solve for B, I need the inverse of cosine. So B equals cosine to the negative 1 times 10 over 17. So type that in the calculator. Remember, do shift or second, whichever kind of calculator you're using, of the cosine key. And then the ratio, 10 over 17. And I'm going to get B is about, and we'll just again round to the nearest whole degree, B is about 54 degrees.